That, my friends, is a sigh of relief. A sigh of relief because I have finally found a pair of skates. It's only taken a minute. Well, I don't know how many years at this point, since 2018, and it's now May of 2021. Anyways, I digress. Welcome back to the Guitar Slinger Hockey channel. As the title suggests, I have found a pair of custom Ribcor 80K skates by CCM, and I am here to share some of that info with you today. What I'll note, you're looking at the retail version right now, not the custom ones. I will show you the custom ones later on in the video, so fear not. Topics will include why I chose to go custom as opposed to just ordering retail skates, since that is a question that I get fairly frequently. I'll talk about that. I will discuss with you why I believe that the CCM Ribcor skate is the most customizable skate that is probably available to the average retail customer. And then I will share with you some differences and similarities between the retail variant of the Ribcor and the fully custom version, because they look similar from a distance away, but the custom versions are very handcrafted skates, as you will see in these pictures. And lastly, I'll discuss the cons of the custom Ribcor skates. I think that the cons serve a valuable purpose because every pair of custom skates, any piece of equipment is going to have pros and cons to it, some more than others. And these have a couple of cons, but they are very, very minor, and I still love the skates. So without further ado, let's get right into the reason why I went with custom skates over retail. It's been, a journey, about finding custom skates for myself. And one of the things that I hear sometimes from folks commenting on videos or sending me emails, that sort of thing, is why? Why Guitar Slinger Hockey channel? Why would you go through the trouble of getting custom skates? I mean, you just play rec hockey, you're just a referee, you don't play competitive anymore. Why can't you just go and get a pair of retail skates? And my response is always the same. You have no idea how bad I wish I could just order retail skates and just kind of deal with it. And, I think that's what it comes down to. I think most hockey players who have played for a while understand there's no such thing as a perfect fitting piece of equipment. Skates, stick, whatever. It's not out there. And you shouldn't look for it, or you're going to drive yourself insane. And I definitely get that. And so you kind of learn to figure out like what is, quote unquote, good enough that it works for you. And whenever you find that, you don't deviate from it. At least that's kind of been my take on it the whole time. But what if you are an outlier in some way? An outlier meaning that something just isn't fitting you. And, that unfortunately for me happens to be my problem. I am an outlier with regard to skate fit. So what that means in my case is that my heel and my instep are too wide and my instep's too high, and the forefoot of my feet is, not crazy wide, but it's a little wider than any skates can fit. And so what that leads to, no matter the model, and this includes the new Bauer fit system, which I think is a good system, just doesn't apply to me. It basically results in excruciating pain where the toe caps are digging into the tops of my feet. There's lace bite. My ankle bones are riding on the eyelets of all the pairs of skates that are out there. And that's even when I go up an entire size. For example, my true skate size, and if we're just talking length, is a solid 8. But I would have to go up to a size 10 to get the volume. And of course, we all know what happens when you have big clown shoes for skates. Your skating sucks. And so To bring those skates back into the correct size equals a ton of pain. And the kind of pain where you can't think about anything else, and it's resulting in your feet getting cut up and literally bloody. So that is not an acceptable level of just quote unquote deal with it in my case. And so realizing that many of you are not this way, you're gonna, you can ignore that because in this video I will talk about other things that you do care about regarding these skates. But when I hear people ask me why I don't just go with a pair of retail skates, this is the reason why. I also get asked sometimes what I did in the past. They ask me, have you always had this problem? It kind of sounds like you've only been searching for custom skates since 2018, and my answer is no. I haven't always had this problem, and it is true that I didn't start looking for custom skates until 2018. And my only theory on it is that skate manufacturers have been making an effort to remove as much negative space or excess volume within the skate as possible over the last several years. And I'm kind of thinking that maybe what is considered to be, say, a regular width skate, maybe back in the day prior to 2016, maybe something like that was actually considered a narrow skate. And maybe what is considered a wide skate today is considered a regular skate, regular width skate back in the day. I don't know. That's kind of my only theory, but it is true that I didn't really notice this as an issue until 2016. But that's just my guess. Anyways, the long and short of it is that's the reason why I've had to focus on custom skates for myself. Okay, so let's talk about why I think the CCM Ribcor is probably the most custom boot that you can get that's out there. Um, and by custom, I'm just talking about ensuring that the actual skates fit you precisely. And, we have to grain of salt that comment with the idea that there's no such thing as perfection in the fit. But when we're looking at not only all three skate manufacturers, but also the models that each of the skate manufacturers has, and the CCM Ribcor 80K, I think, takes the cake. Not by too much, but definitely I think it's the winner with regard to how precise the fit is when you're talking about a fully custom boot. And if you take a look at the title of my video, I kind of tongue-in-cheek say a real, air quotes, custom boot. And the reason I say that is because not all the manufacturers actually have a real custom boot. When I think of custom, I'm not talking about, just switching tongues or having a cool color. I'm talking about the important stuff, like how does it fit? Not just the length and the width of the forefoot, but I'm also talking about the boot depth, the volume, heel width, the stiffness of the boot. All of that stuff is things that you need to take into consideration, and not all the companies do that. Unfortunately, I don't think that is obvious information for those people who are like first-time custom skate buyers. One example is Bauer does not make a custom skate. What they do is they give you the option to order skates that are two different boot lengths, and then the forefoot can be made to be wider or more narrow, but they can't change the volume, they can't change the heel width, and I know that based upon the extremes they had to go to with my custom ultrasonics. I had a very special, unique boot that I nicknamed Der Franken boot because it's not part of the normal custom program that most retailers offer. Okay, so it's right about here where I might hear somebody chime in and say, hey, well, what about True? I thought they were the only truly custom boot that's out there. And my response would be, yeah, they're pretty darn close to these Ribcors. Being that I've owned two pairs of Trues in the past, I would say yes, they're very close. True does a fantastic job, especially with their newer generation of skates. I just think that there are some slight differences where these skates will edge out the True. For example, and most importantly to me, CCM takes a 360-degree 3D image of your feet all around and including the bottoms, whereas True will scan your foot using very similar technology, but they don't entirely get the bottoms of your feet. Now, I think some people might disagree with me on that, but what I would say to them is they are doing a very good job at scanning the arches of your feet, and they being True. However, for the bottoms of your heels, the balls of your feet, if you've noticed how you get scanned, you're standing on a white piece of plexiglass or whatever they use at your local store, and they're doing pretty much everything but the bottoms of your feet, whereas CCM is getting that 3D image of your feet. And so that is the most important thing to me, and I can feel that difference in these rib cores, and I could definitely feel that difference in the two pairs of True I had. The True skates felt like I was standing flat-footed on cement, whereas the CCMs feel like they're wrapping my feet, 360 degrees. So that was just my experience on it. Okay, so let's move on to the next section. You guys have been patiently staring at this lame picture of the retail Model 80Ks, and so we are now to the portion of the show where I will discuss the similarities and the differences of these retail models and the custom ones. So I shall now unveil the custom ribcores. Okay, how underwhelmed are you? It just looks like a regular ribcore. Well, kinda, yeah. But there are some details here that definitely make it stand out a bit. So I will talk about the visible custom options that I chose and also some of the ones that are not visible, just so you know what they are and kind of give you a little taste of the types of options you can choose. So starting with the blades on up, these skates do normally come with step steel black steel. I elected to use flare steel. I've been using it for years and years. If you're not familiar with what it is, it's basically steel that's 4.5 millimeters thick instead of the standard 3 millimeters. I'll just say it's good. Go look it up. It's really, I won't be using anything else. I also have a superior medium profile on there, which is essentially three profiles instead of like the quad zero that a lot of people are familiar with. It has a 1 1/4 inch sharpening on it, which is the equivalent of 3/4 inch at normal thickness steel. Um, some of the other visible things are that you can see leather facing on the skates where the eyelets are attached, and that is because CCM has advanced all of the eyelets 1/2 inch for me to accommodate the volume of my feet. And on the side of the boot, at the first eyelet near the toe cap, you'll see additional leather. That's typically some sort of rubber plastic material on the retail model 80Ks. I didn't choose that, it just kind of came with it, and must be having something to do with the advancing of the eyelets on that one as well. At the top collar of the boot, you can see that there's actually a much better high ankle abrasion padding than you'll see in the retail ones. That is a big, cushy one, and it's really comfortable and nice. But you don't need it because the boots fit well enough. Regarding the tongue is a standard thickness white felt tongue, and it's pretty similar to the retail ones that'll come in the retail 80Ks, except for the quality of it seems to be quite a bit nicer. And then, of course, my name is embroidered on the tongue. The other thing that isn't obvious is that the toe cap is an oversized toe cap, and the toe cap quality is much nicer than comes on the retail model. And I will show these kind of a comparison later on in the video. But it is interesting to see how much nicer the materials are that are used in the custom skates as opposed to the retail ones. You can tell it's a handmade skate, which is pretty cool. The other specs that are in the skate is that it has the thickest gray Clarino liner that you can get. I had that put in there. I had the skate lined with comfort foam, and also the stiffness of the boot has been changed. So the lower portion of the boot is exactly the same stiffness as an FT2 Jet Speed, FT2 Pro Jet Speed. And then the upper portion of the boot is the same stiffness as a regular Ribcor 80K at the retail market. That's what kind of gives its amazing um, flexibility and power and speed and all that good stuff. And then the tendon guard is, you can actually choose different thickness on the tendon guards and different stiffnesses. And I chose a stiffness of the tendon guard that is on par with the FT2 Pro Jet Speed. There were also two little unexpected things that I received with the skates that aren't obvious that I'll try to illustrate later on. One was the dial on the holder that's used to replace the steel. That is a dial system that has actually not been released yet. I believe it's coming out with the FT4 Pro Jet Speed whenever that skate is released. Um, Nothing too special here, but it seems to be beefier than the original one, as well as it seems to be easier to use. There's better, you can get your finger grip on it better. It just seems like a slight improvement. They also included the new Ortho Move insoles that will be coming with the FT4 Pro Jet Speed. Aside from them just being red and white Ortho moves instead of the yellow ones that you're all familiar with, I would say they feel pretty similar, except the forefoot seems to be a little bit softer, a little bit more cushioned. But I still don't like them personally. I have some other insoles that I like better and use. Okay, so that pretty much does it for the specs inside and out, and I will share some photos of what they look like now. But one thing I wanted to make sure that was very clear. So CCM, and I probably should have started with this, CCM has two custom programs, and I cannot remember for the life of me which of the two, what the names are, but basically, if you want to get into the custom world with CCM skates, they have a custom program, and I think it might be called a Total Custom Plus or something like that. Whatever the most expensive program is, that's the most customizable. My understanding is if you just ask for custom CCM skates, they're probably only going to give you a skate that is customized to your length and customized to your width of your foot, your forefoot. Not even the heels, nothing like that. So it's not as custom as you think. You actually have to be very specific about saying that no, I want the custom program that takes into consideration the volume of my foot, my heel width, and then I get to choose all the different like eyelet facing, all that kind of stuff, because the two programs are not the same. So be sure you ask, like if you go down this route, be sure you ask the retail to specify which of the two programs you're looking at. So I wanted to make that clear. Okay, here's just the other side of the skate. What I will add is that I've had these skates now and I've been on the ice for about 40 hours with them, so I'm happy that they're broken in. That it didn't really take that long to break them in, but it did take me baking them 3 times to get them the way I liked them. And one thing I noticed about them is that if you wrap them in cellophane, in a similar fashion, the way that True has you bake skates, it actually worked pretty darn well and to get them to fit well, just because they are so heat moldable. So that might be an idea if you head down this route, either in the custom or the retail direction. Okay, and here's a close-up of the padding on the top of the boot. And I'm not exactly sure if this is Clarino liner, but it kind of looks like it, and it feels about the same density. But anyways, it is very comfortable, and this is kind of one of the nuanced, nice touches that they do for your skates. Okay, and here's a look at the gray Clarino liner, and this is the thickest memory foam that CCM offers, and I'm a little on the fence about whether or not I should have gotten it. Maybe there was a thinner option that would have worked a little bit better. I do notice that when I pull my laces fairly tight, it still doesn't get quite as tight as I would like it at times, but at the same time, I've had issues with my ankle bones sitting on the eyelets, and so this definitely isn't a problem on this skate. So I've had to err on the side of comfort as opposed to performance in this case, which was something that works for me, but you may consider doing a thinner foam for your own skates if you go down this route. Okay, and here's a closer look at the tongue and the metatarsal guard. This is definitely a nicer quality tongue than the one you'll get with a retail 80K. The metatarsal guard is actually very thick, and you don't have to worry about getting lace bite from it. What I will say is the rest of the tongue below it, towards the toe cap, is fairly thin, and so if you pull the laces tight there, you do run the risk a little bit, but it's not much at all, and it doesn't impact your comfort in the boot or anything like that. It's just something to watch out for. Okay, so here's another look at the Clarino liner and the shin pad wear guards. I wanted to show this to you because this is what Clarino liner looks like after about 40 hours of use. And I wear my shin pads on top of the tongue when I ref and when I play. So you can kind of see how it wears a little bit. And it's not too bad though, and it doesn't seem to absorb too much water, but it does absorb a little bit more water than like a total dry, whatever comes in the retail skates of like the AS3 Pros and the Jet Speed. I would say it probably does absorb a little bit more water than that, but it's so comfortable that it doesn't really matter to me, but I figured I'd share with you. And here's one of my favorite parts of these skates, and basically traditional type of fitting skates. We have a tongue that's actually sewn to the toe cap. Oh, I love this part. Um, Unfortunately, I think the new direction that CCM is going with the replaceable tongue, um, it's not comfortable for me, but I'm kind of an oddball with fit, as you guys know by now. But this is very seamless and comfortable fitting. So I feel like it was worth showing. This is similar to what you'll find in the 80K skates. However, the toe cap is not the same. So I will share that in a bit, though. And here's a little closer look at the eyelet advancement. And so this CCM has the capability to advance the eyelets up to a ½ inch on the rib cores, and they can also do it on just the top 3 eyelets, or all of them, or none of them. And you can also choose either no advancing, a ½ inch, or a ½ inch. And that is a difference from the Jet Speed and the SuperTax line. My understanding is that on the Jet Speed, you can only do the top 3 eyelets, but on the SuperTax, I believe you can advance all the eyelets, but I could be mistaken on that. And here is another difference you'll see on the retail models. This is leather. I gotta believe that the one that's on the retail skates might last a little longer than this, but you know, in order to get that extra volume out of these skates, cost of doing business. But they did a good job on it. Okay, and check out this outsole. This is a really nice carbon fiber outsole that is a departure from what's on the retail skate. Um, I don't know if this has something to do with increasing the stiffness to help me get to that FT2 Pro stiffness on the bottom of the boot, but I don't know. It's nice. That's all I can say. You can also see the rivets are different. I can't remember what those are, what type of material those are, but they seem high quality. And I wanted to show this picture because it represents the custom options that you have with CCM. So earlier in the video, I mentioned that I have an issue with the pointy parts of my ankle bones on the inside riding on the eyelets and getting cut up and bloody and all this good stuff. What CCM did is to alleviate that, and in addition to moving the eyelets a ½ inch forward, they took all of the memory foam and moved it all up against the rivets, as you can see there, the eyelets, excuse me. And you can see that by doing that, now there's really nowhere for my ankle bone to go but padding. So that was a cool ad that now I can just toss skates on with comfort and no more pain. And this photo represents not only the gray Clarino liner, but also it shows the comfort foam that goes the entire length of the boot. Now, one departure that I didn't like about this design was that I have had custom CCM skates in the past, the AS1 SuperTax, and I had asked for the comfort liner to overlap the seam where the toe caps are sewn to the boots. At least I thought I did, and this was my mistake now. But there is no overlap. You will find a foam overlap like in the FT2 Pro Jet Speeds. There might even be one in the AS3 Pro. I can't remember at the retail level, but I do know that they can line the toe caps with foam if you want, but I must not have chosen the right option, or it wasn't an option. But the comfort foam is what you can see through the arch of the skate and the 4-foot width and all that good stuff. It is really plush. It's really nice. Supports your foot well. But yeah, I think on my own boneheaded mistake of not really knowing what I was asking for regarding the toe cap lining. But that's fine. It's really a minor thing, and I've, as the skates have broken in, it's not become a issue or anything like that. So that's the comfort padding. Okay, and as promised, thought I'd show you the two different dials. So on the right is the new unreleased dial that will be coming out with the JetSpeed FT4 Pros, and at least I think they will. I don't know that for sure. But anyways, this is the new design, and aside from it looking different, it's got almost like a rubbery grip texture to it, which is easier to get a grip on than the standard excess holder dial on the left. And the dial on the right seems to be smoother. It seems to work a little bit. It's just easier to use, I think. And so that's something to look forward to. It's just a small nuance, but it does work well. And I know this video isn't about steel, but I figured I'd throw in a photo of what the flare steel looks like, and you can kind of see it, well, flare outwards. So that's basically what it looks like. And if you're not aware of it, what it does is it takes a lot of pressure off of your joints. Being that you can sharpen it to a duller sharpening, you glide better. You don't notice chewed up ice as much, so it lasts better. It's a more durable edge. The bite is still there. It doesn't take very long to get used to, maybe like 10, 20 minutes of skating on it. So, but I figured I'd throw it in there. And as mentioned earlier, this is what the new Ortho Move insoles look like. CCM was gracious enough to include a pair. Like I said, besides being red and white, I would say they seem slightly softer and more comfortable in the forefoot, but not for me. I have a foot injury on my left foot, so it's kind of irrelevant. I have to use something different. But I think that it's a slight improvement over the yellow Ortho Moves that people are familiar with. And looking at the back of the skate, not really much of a visual difference between these and the retail ones. All I will say is that the retail variants, where it says 80K on the back there, that's all like a rubberish plastic, whereas this is leather on this boot. And here is the custom toe cap. This is an oversized toe cap, and it is a beefier toe cap. It seems to be stronger, stiffer. The fit is a little different than the retail model as well. It seems to taper towards the point of the skate a little bit more than the retail model. I've noticed there's maybe a little bit more of a form fit to the toe cap than the retail models. I definitely could not go smaller than an oversized toe cap in this particular pair of skates. I could almost go up even one more size in the toe caps. I did think that this was one area where I did contact CCM and ask them for some advice on it, and they told me it wouldn't be a good idea to change anything on the skates. So I took their advice, and it's the skates have further broken in, and it's made it more comfortable for me. But there was a little bit of pinky toe pinching on my left skate that I believe was because of that kind of sloped pointy toe. But it is still a much nicer cap than on the retail model. Okay, so cons. Cost. That's going to be the first one on the list. These are not cheap. These are for somebody that is really going to be an elite level player, which I'm not. Somebody who knows what they need, which I wasn't that person. I kind of am now. It's going to be somebody who has no choice but to go custom, which is exactly why I'm here. Because as somebody who just plays rec hockey and refs hockey, do you think I would be purchasing custom skates like this if I had the choice? Not knowing what I know now, no. The other thing would be the just the idea of wait time. So sometimes it takes a long time to get your skates. These were about 4 weeks. I've heard it taking longer. I have a buddy who is now in his, I think, 8th week of waiting for a pair of custom True skates. Don't know what's going on there, but mine definitely didn't take that long. But there's a time that needs to pass. You have to. It's a gamble if you're actually going to get your specs correct. So you really need to know what your exact specifications are. If you think you're going to walk into your local hockey shop and have them scan you and then you're going to pay money and walk out, they will do that, but you have no idea what you're getting. Once you get these skates, if you got them wrong, if you got the specs wrong, and you have to talk about having the skates remade for you or refunded, you're going to go through a lot of scrutiny from the manufacturers of the skates, a number of different people. You're going to have to put people out, which personally I hate doing that. I don't have the personality that enjoys that. I had to go through some of that to get to this point. I had to go through a lot of it, and I really feel guilty about that, to be honest with you. So it's something that may happen to you if you decide to go down this route, and so something that you should be aware of. But transitioning the conversation to some cons about how these specific skates turned out for me. Um, I would say that the toe cap, having a little bit of pinky toe jamming, was a little annoying. I also had some heel lock issues initially that since have worked themselves in with 3 different heat molding sessions. But my heel was moving around a little bit, and my toes were kind of getting jammed in the toe caps, and did some damage to my toes when that happened. But that's since been resolved. And I think the last con would just be the tendon guard. And this is a small one, but it's a little hard to see in this photo. But the tendon guard actually is angled forward slightly towards the tongue, as this is a little bit more of an aggressive stance boot to put you on the balls of your feet a little bit more so than the Super Tax or the Jet Speed, in my opinion. And you don't notice it really when you're playing, but as an official, when I'm working as a linesman and standing on the blue line, you're standing up straight. The tendon guard has a tendency to dig into your calves. Now, what I've noticed since skating is that since breaking these skates in more, is that that's broken in and accommodated itself to how I skate and how I stand on the ice. So that I think it was a really good decision that I chose to go with a medium stiffness tendon guard instead of a really stiff one like on the Super Tax. So this flexes a little bit more with me. But anyways, that since worked itself out, but it was initially a con. But guys, really, that's it. Those situations were minor. I love the skates now. And I'm not thinking about anything while I'm skating. I could just toss them on and go. And that has been the first time probably in my skating life where I've ever been able to do that. So I can't say much bad about it. I think CCM nailed it. So, guys, I just want to thank everybody for sitting through yet another long video of mine. I hope some of you guys maybe have found some value in it. And until next time, thanks for watching. Peace.